what we came here for.
This thing is, a deep breather.
The 8 March Principles for a Human Rights-Based Approach to Criminal Law Prescribing Conduct Association with Sex, Reproduction, Drug Use, HIV, Homelessness, and Poverty. This is a lot.
Because they're all correlated, right? They should all be in the same group.
I mean, I guess. Okay. And how'd you find out about this? International?
The internet.
Okay, this is the International Commission of Jurists, composed of 60 eminent judges and lawyers from all regions of the world. The International Commission of Jurists promotes and protects human rights through the rule of the law. Through the rule of law by using its unique legal expertise to develop and strengthen national and international justice systems.
So this is what the UN spend all their money on to develop laws for the rest of the world, because the UN basically thinks they're really the president of the world, and every country is just a state of the UN. So this is what it's building up to.
Criminal law is among the harshest of tools at the disposal of the state to exert control over individuals. As such, it ought to be a measure of last resort where other less restrictive means of achieving legitimate interests are insufficient. However, globally, states have exhibited a growing trend towards over-criminalization.
Over-criminal. The first paragraph says over-criminal. You're punishing somebody too much.
Mm-hmm.
Who could you possibly be punishing too much on a global scale?
Criminal law may also perform an expressive function through public condemnation of certain conduct seen as deserving reprobation and punishment. The desire to harness this expressive function is a critical factor contributing to the proliferation of criminal law. They have called for the removal of criminal and other punitive laws, policies, and practices pertaining to some or all of the above-mentioned conduct as a critical step to protect the right to health and other human rights. In light of the above, the principles below are intended to offer a clear, accessible, and operational legal framework consensual sexual activities, including in such contexts as sex outside of the marriage, same-sex sexual relations, adolescent sexual activity, and sex work. Should I just Google adolescent sexual activity and find out what the fuck they're talking about?
Exactly. Why would that be in there?
Adolescence transitional phase usually occurs between 10 and 19. Okay, so that's a problem.
Why is kid sex in this?
Adolescent sex activity. I don't know.
They want to decriminalize sex for adolescents.
To address the detrimental human rights impact of criminalization in the above-mentioned areas.
They want to remove the law they want kids to be able to have sex. Because that law is more harmful. It's more harmful to the pedophiles than it is to the kids.
Noting that, at a minimum, consent sets the boundary between justifiable and unjustifiable state interference in certain conduct in context, right? And that ascertaining the presence or absence of consent is a matter of evidence and factual investigation, sure, with due regard to the strictures of law and one's capacity to consent. Okay. Acknowledging that the absence of consent may give rise to criminal liability for the conduct concerned.
Rape. Yeah, rape. The absence of consent is rape, yes.
Adolescents' evolving capacity to consent in certain contexts. In fact, even if not in law, even when they are below the prescribed minimum age of consent in domestic law. What? Kids that are below that age, and non-discrimination and equality with respect to sex, orientation, identity, expression, race, disability, and other protected fundamental characteristics.
If you can talk that kid into saying yes, then it's not a crime.
They want
the whole point of this grooming operation they've been running. So now the UN is putting the fucking paper forward that we've got them significantly groomed enough for the last fucking 10 years that we can start acting on it.
The jurists listed at the end of this document are the first to endorse the following principles. In addition, the organization and institutions whose name appear at the end support these principles. Okay, principle 1 of legality. No one may be held criminally liable for any act or omission that did not constitute a criminal offense at the time which the conduct occurred. Okay. The principle of legality also requires that the law be publicly and sufficiently accessible and the criminal liability foreseeable and capable of being clearly understood in its application or consequences. Oh, they had to know it was bad to fuck your kid. Did you post it? Did you post a warning that said it's not okay to fuck the kids?
Yeah.
Well, thus crimes must be classified or described.
You didn't say couldn't fish in this pond, so there was no fishing sign, so I fished in the pond.
Yeah. Thus,
sir, you're at the aquarium.
Well, where's your sign?
That's what they're saying here.
Yeah.
You're at Disneyland, sir.
Criminal law must not prescribe any act or omission in terms that are vague, imprecise, arbitrary, or overly broad. Harm principle. Criminal law may only prescribe conduct that inflicts or threatens substantial harm to the fundamental rights and freedoms of others or to certain fundamental public interests, namely security, public safety.
There's no public threat. We're in love. I'm in love with that 8-year-old. There's no threat.
Yeah,
that's what they're saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Love is love.
There's no threat yet, and that's part of it, right?
No one may be held criminally liable for any act or omission.
If they don't confess, they can't be held liable
on the basis of their individual criminal liability. No one may be held liable for a criminal offense unless that person has engaged in a voluntary act or omission as defined in that offense. What? Isn't this the law already?
This was written by lawyers, reviewed by lawyers and editors, drafted.
Criminal liability may not be based on thoughts, intentions, beliefs, or status alone. So, okay, there's no, fine. I'm with that one. No one may be held liable for a criminal offense unless the person has committed the material elements of that offense with the mental state required in the definition of the offense, such as intent, purpose, knowledge. Every criminal offense that is punishable with deprivation of liberty must include a mental state requirement with respect to each material element. This is how they're going to find out how many fucking of these school shooters are on the pills.
They'll never look into that because they all are. Every one of them. The first thing they do when they have a kid that's in trouble is they put them on pills. It's the very first thing they don't get them counted. The first thing they do for a kid, pills. Because mom's like, yep, quick fix. Here's a pill. Counselors, $100 a session. These pills are $10 a pill.
Yeah. No one may be held criminally liable for an offense if that person has a lawful defense for their conduct, including that the conduct is justified or excused, such as by reason of necessity, self-defense, or duress. I'm sorry. I heard of self-defense, but I never heard of necessity. Criminal law may not, on its face or as applied, in substance or in form, directly or indirectly discriminate on any, including multiple or intersecting grounds prohibited by international human rights law. Prohibited grounds of discrimination include, first,
age.
And just let me tell you that the second one is sex, and then 15th on the list is color. This isn't in alphabetical order. But just make sure we're not going to discriminate based on age first.
Right.
Directly discriminate on any prohibited grounds of discrimination include age.
Don't punish me because I'm an adult and that's a child. Age doesn't matter.
I don't even care what the rest of this said. Why did they start with age?
That's the most important part.
What the fuck? Because old people... Wait. Oh, that says minority status. I was about to go ham again. Okay. Criminal liability may not be based on discriminatory grounds. No one may be held criminally liable for conduct that does not constitute a criminal offense, obviously, if committed by another person, and where the criminalization of such conduct constitutes prohibited discrimination. No one under 18 can be held liable for a crime that doesn't exist for someone who is 18 or older.
So does that saying like a teenager can't rape an adult?
No one under the age of 18 can be held criminally liable for any conduct that does not constitute a criminal offense if committed by someone who was over 18. So there's no laws for minors?
Yes. Minors
strictly minors.
Yes. This
is making my brain melt a little bit.
They word it this way for reasons. There's like key ways to get out of things with the wordings of these. So one
I don't
lawyer's going to be able to look at that sentence and go, it means my guy didn't do it. I can use it this way.
Okay, what is this actually saying? The principles set out below result from, reflect, and have been elaborated by applying the general principles and legal standards from the other parts above to the criminalization and conduct associated with sexual and reproductive health and human rights, including the same shit they said before.
Yeah.
And they put what is
decriminalize
adolescent? I'm gonna Google adolescent.
I think it's like 13 and under.
A young person, the process of developing into a child into
Like
an adult, from a child into an adult. Adolescence transitional phase usually occurs
10 to
between
19.
10 and 19. Okay, so that's a problem. Imagine 10 to 19. There's at least half of that the most people are not going to be okay with. They want to fuck adults or whatever.
Half of them on creep catchers, that's what they get them with, was the 11, 12-year-olds.
No one may be held criminally liable for providing assistance to another to enable them to exercise their rights to abortions, unless there is, again, coercion, force, lack of free and informed decision-making. Parents, guardians, carers, and other persons who enable or assist children or people in their care, including persons with disability, to exercise their sexual and reproductive rights, including by procuring sexual and reproductive health services, goods, or information, may not be held criminally liable unless they do it by coercion, force, fraud, or other lack of free informed decision-making on the part of the child or person whom they were caring. Wow.
Child. Sexual.
Parents, guardians, carers who enable or assist children
take them to drag queen
mutilate themselves or make themselves sterile may not be held criminally liable. That's what this is. What? Consensual
we're at the consensual.
Yes. Consensual sexual conduct, irrespective of the type of activity, the sex, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression of the person involved or their marital status, may not be criminalized in any circumstances. Consensual same sex, as well as consensual different sex sexual relations or consensual sexual relations with or between trans, non-binary, or other gender diverse people or outside marriage, whether premarital or extramarital, may therefore never be criminalized.
Adultery, which is a crime in a lot of countries.
I like the sound of different sex.
Why can't they say normal? Just, straight people.
I don't care. You guys do same sex, I do different sex. With respect to the enforcement of criminal law, any prescribed minimum age of consent to sex must be applied in a non-discriminatory manner. Enforcement may not be linked to the sex or gender of the participants or age of consent to marriage. Okay. I guess they have to speak this way because this is going to apply internationally. But in most of our states, it's 16. You don't even need your parents' consent. 16 is considered a legal adult, so you can already. I think in the states where 18 is the age
I think 16's only legal if the person is within like 2 years of your age.
Not in most of the United States. 16 is legal age of adulthood in most of those states. Yeah. Legal age of consent is 16 in like 36 states or 38. The majority of our states is 16.
Fuck. That's young.
It is young. Let's look it up. Wait, hold on. Let's get back to this.
I always thought it was 18. Like I could see
I did too.
16 and 18-year-olds having sex. Okay. But not a 16-year-old and a 32-year-old.
Let's see.
That seems predatory because that 16-year-old has no life skills.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Well, they can not only have sex, they can
can't
get
have
married.
a driver's license, right? It doesn't have the mental capacity to drive.
Mm-hmm. The age of consent is the age at which a person is considered to be legally competent to consider sexual acts. Where's America's age of consent in North America? The age of consent in Canada is 16. As of August 2018, each U.S. state has set an age of consent at 16, age 18, or at 17. Oh, 17 or 18.
Yes, Canada's was 14. And Stephen Harper changed it to 16, and the liberals all fucking, you're evil, blah, blah, blah.
Because they wanted it to be 14?
Yeah.
The age of consent in Mexico is complex.
Which means if you have money, it doesn't matter. All
right, it says the neon green is 18. So wherever you see these are the only states that you have to be 18 to have sex in. Oh, yeah. Look, Mexico is here.
But
South,
everyone knows that's not true.
well, yeah. So these army green ones are 17. So Texas, what is this? Louisiana?
It's weird. You would think it would be,
Is that New York?
yeah, New York. Yeah, no, yeah, is it?
Looks like it.
I don't know the states. I think
So,
so.
and
Yeah, because
what's,
that's upland New York.
I don't know what this is. I don't know these states very well either. Okay. And then blue, this dark blue that most is 16. So, like I said, surprisingly, the age of consent, even in Hawaii, is 16. Moreover, sexual conduct involving persons below the domestically prescribed minimum age of consent to sex may be consensual in fact, if not in law. In
So
this
regardless of
context,
your laws, these underage kids can still consent.
I guess, in this context, the enforcement of criminal law should reflect the rights and capacity of persons under 18 years of age to make decisions about engaging in consensual sexual contact with their right to be heard in matters concerning them. Pursuant to their evolving capacities and progressive autonomy, persons under 18 years of age should participate in decisions affecting them with due regard to their age, maturity, and best interest, with specific attention to non-discrimination guarantees.
I live the kind of life that other people would just love to live if they only had the courage. Who's to say that the boy would be happier your way or mine? Why not let him decide? Now, I'm afraid it don't work that way. You can't let a young'un decide for himself. He'll grab at the first flashy thing with shiny ribbons on it. Then when he finds out there's a hook in it, it's too late. Wrong ideas come packaged with so much glitter, it's hard to convince them that other things might be better in the long run. All a parent can do is say, wait, trust me, and try to keep temptation away.